Imagine just for a moment that you're the head of a church in a small town in the middle of medieval France, when you're suddenly and randomly presented with what's perhaps the most mysterious and most important religious relic ever discovered. What do you do? Who can you trust with this incredible secret? This was the dilemma faced by the dean of such a church in 1354, when a knight named Geoffrey de Charny presented him with a cloth that not only touched the skin of the holiest man to ever walk the earth, but miraculously imprinted a life-sized image of him into the fabric. This is genuinely one of the most intensely studied human artifacts in the history of our species, yet the debate over its authenticity continues to this day. So, will you join the millions and millions of people who feel this is a legitimate burial cloth and likeness of the Son of God? Or do you, like many others, suspect that it's not actually Jesus, or worse, a complete hoax? The decision is yours to make, but we're going to dig a bit deeper as we reveal what we can about this mysterious and miraculous artifact. This is the Dark Chronicles. The Shroud of Turin, real or hoax? Also called by the simpler title of the Holy Shroud, the Shroud of Turin is a roughly rectangular piece of linen cloth that bears the faint image of a man. The cloth measures approximately 4.4 meters in length by 1.1 meters in width, or 14 feet 5 inches by 3 feet 7 inches. The material, which is composed of flax fibrils, ranges from a reddish brown to a straw-like yellow in color, with several drawings or symbols patterned across it. However, what's most striking is the faint yet clearly discernible image of a man without clothes, but with long hair and a beard. High-ranking members of the Catholic Church have, on several occasions, revealed that the artifact itself was the very burial cloth that was wrapped around the body of Jesus of Nazareth shortly after his crucifixion and subsequent death. They further allege that the image depicted on the shroud is actually that of Jesus Christ, and that the imprinting's mere existence is itself a miracle. First exhibited in 1354 at the New Collegiate Church of Lirey, a small town in north-central France, the shroud quickly became world famous. Every day since its unveiling, its authenticity has been debated. There are actually two images of the man depicted on the Shroud of Turin. One image is of his front side, his eyes closed and hands positioned in the way that they would as if a person was being laid to rest. The other is the man's backside. The two images are almost perfectly aligned such that if a man of similar build were to lay on his back, lined up with the image of the backside and the cloth was folded over him, the front side would line up perfectly from eyes to toes. The man seen on the shroud is between 5'7" and 6'2" in height, with a slim but muscular build. He has hair that appears to be parted down the middle and runs down past his shoulders, a beard and mustache, all of which is relatively consistent with the description of Jesus from both the Bible and historical texts. Also seemingly consistent are the dark reddish splotches found on the shroud, which correlate with the Bible's descriptions of the parts of Jesus' body that would have been wounded during the crucifixion. On May 28, 1898, lawyer and amateur photographer Secondo Pia became the first person to produce photographs of the shroud. This resulted in the creation of the first photo negatives of the artifact, which allowed the humanoid image to be seen much more clearly than in black and white. At this point, many who were on the fence over whether the man shown was Jesus or not became believers, as the processed image revealed a resemblance that was absolutely uncanny. Samples taken from the surface of the cloth using adhesive tape in 1978 were studied under microscope by American chemist Walter Macronim. He concluded that the image was painted on and not the result of an actual body being pressed into the material. However, his findings were disputed by several other researchers. Another investigation conducted in 1978 by an international team of experts attempted to discern exactly how the image was created, but unfortunately the only conclusion they came to was that it was not a painting, due to there being no evidence of dyes or pigments. In 1389, approximately 35 years after it was first exhibited, the shroud's authenticity was denounced by Pierre de la Crise, the Bishop of Troyes, in a letter he wrote to Pope Clement VII. De la Crise claimed that he heard the confession of the artist who created the forgery and insisted that the church declare it as such. Instead, the Pope declared that the shroud was not a relic but was a man-made religious icon and permitted that it continue to be displayed in the church. Then, in 1453, an Italian royal family called the House of Savoy took possession of the artifact and moved it to a different chapel closer to them. Tragically, a fire broke out there in 1532, destroying many items and damaging countless more. However, incredibly, the shroud only suffered minor damage. A city in northern Italy, and in 1683, architect Guarino Guarini constructed the chapel of the Holy Shroud in the same city, which is where the relic still resides today. Since the cloth's first exhibition, there have been numerous debates about its legitimacy, and a number of discoveries have been made on both sides of the argument, each one seeming to help that side's specific point of view. For instance, in the late 1900s, pollen found clinging to the fibers of the shroud were confirmed to match pollen around the parts of Jerusalem near where Jesus was crucified. Radiocarbon dating was conducted by 3 separate laboratories in 1988, and although all 3 of them concluded that the shroud was created sometime between 1260 and 1390, numerous questions have been raised about the results. Those include accusations that the samples were actually contaminated or taken from parts of the cloth that were repaired during those years. Meanwhile, some believers point to an ancient manuscript that's confirmed to have been created between 1192 and 1195 AD as evidence that the shroud must be older than the results of the carbon dating test claimed. Written in Budapest, Hungary, the Prey Codex, otherwise known as the Hungarian Prey Manuscript, is a collection of medieval documents which include an illustrated depiction of the entombment of Christ. These drawings appear to show the Shroud of Turin, with numerous matching details with the artifact, including only 4 fingers on each of Jesus' hands being visible. If the burial cloth in this manuscript is the Shroud of Turin, then either the tests were inaccurate or someone forged them to cover something up. The shroud encountered a second fire on April 11, 1997. This time, the flames were believed to be caused by arson, but once again, almost miraculously, the artifact escaped with only minor damage. Just over a month in the summer of 2002, specifically between the 20th of June and the 22nd of July, the Shroud of Turin was put through a restoration process that many believe caused more damage than it fixed. The restoration was completed by the Commission for the Conservation of the Shroud and involved the removal of the cloth backing and 30 triangular patches that were added by nuns in 1534. This process revealed the underside and allowed the back of the shroud to finally be photographed and scanned for the very first time. This led to the revelation in 2004 that a partial, faint image of part of the man's body was visible on the back of the cloth. In 2014, researchers published an article that claimed that the image could have been created due to radiation after an earthquake. The following year, in 2015, the stains on the artifact were tested, revealing that they were, in fact, blood from an individual whose blood type was AB positive. Finally, a study conducted in 2019 by Italian scientist Liberato De Caro caused quite a stir worldwide as it re-sparked almost every debate regarding the relic. According to the findings that weren't actually released to the public until 2022, the Shroud of Turin was created around 2,000 years ago, meaning it very well could have been the burial cloth wrapped around the body of Jesus Christ. So say what you will about the Shroud of Turin, but one thing that can't be denied is, It's a survivor, having lasted through multiple fires, damaging restoration attempts, and the cruelness of time itself is no easy feat, even for a piece of cloth. Yet this piece of cloth remains, still depicting the image of a holy man, seemingly resting until the day the world needs him once more. It's important to note that as of the time of this video, the Catholic Church has neither confirmed nor denied the legitimacy of the shroud being the relic of Jesus Christ, at least not officially. But with so much evidence, it's hard to ignore. This piece of linen cloth very well could have been wrapped around the body of a man who sacrificed himself for our sins. One day, it might be called Jesus' burial cloth, but today it's still known as the Shroud of Turin. But thank you guys for watching this episode of The Dark Chronicles. If you'd like to watch more from this series, you can click the playlist on screen right now, and of course, please leave a like and a comment on this video for the algorithm because it helps me out tremendously. And of course, if you'd like to follow me on any socials, links are in the description. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time.